Welcome, folks. We'll be getting started just a few minutes past the hour. Hello, Myranda. Hello, Charo.
Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Myranda, I'm going to go ahead and make you host. So you'll have full control, and Charo, you'll remain co-host. So as will anybody else from the team who shows up.
All right, sounds good.
And I'll be hopping off shortly. As you all know, I have a qualifying exam that I'll be participating in today. But I'll just give a quick welcome right at 11 as most of our folks get in, and then I will be handing it off to you all.
Good.
Oh, I'll go ahead and kick us off just with a quick welcome. Could I ask all of the DS team members to raise your hand, raise your virtual hand.
I gotta remember how to do that. It's been a while.
Exactly, I know. It's down on the bottom, sort of right next to share. Okay, great. And we'll give Myranda, we'll find it. Yeah, it should be right next to share unless you've reorganized things a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. All
I've
right.
got too many options now. All right.
Exactly. So, folks, welcome. We're still going to give folks a few more minutes to get in since the first day. I'm Jesse Spencer-Smith, and I'm Chief Data Scientist, Director of the Data Science Institute. We're thrilled to have you join us for our AI Summer. We're going to be covering a lot of great material. You should have received an email earlier today with the link to the repository where we're going to have a lot of information. This also is going to be where we will list, where we will link recordings that we have. So if for some reason you have to miss a day, it's not the end of the world. You'll be able to get caught up. But I would like for the members of the DS team to introduce themselves if they could. I'll start with myself, Jesse Spencer-Smith, as I mentioned before. My background is, my PhD is in cognitive psychology and cognitive science, but for a number of years, I've been working more broadly in data science and also in AI, practical AI, applied AI. And we have an interesting number of interesting opportunities here at the DSI. So I feel like I've applied AI in many, perhaps even most of the emerging areas of research here at Vanderbilt, and it's been a real honor to do so. So I'm a heavy user of AI. I teach AI at the graduate level and at the undergraduate level. So so thrilled that you're here with us today. Myranda, since you're going to be teaching today, we'll introduce you last, if that's okay. So we'll have the recency effect, so people remember. But Charles, let's start with you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I am Sharo Bell. I am a senior data scientist here at the Data Science Institute, as well as the director of the data science minor for our undergraduate populations. I have been doing data science, machine learning. It seems like forever now, but really since, through my undergrad, through my master's degree, through my PhD, my background really is in electrical engineering and computer engineering. But I've been doing so much machine learning. It just flows naturally right on into AI. Since I've been at the Data Science Institute, also been applying AI, data science, machine learning, just across the board in these really cool different applications. We hope to hear some more of these cool, interesting applications from you this summer, and excited to talk to you more about AI and learn more about what you're doing. So welcome, everybody. Happy to have you.
And Umang.
Hi, everyone. My name is Umang. I'm Senior Data Scientist at the DSI. I am an alum of our master's program, so I've been here a while. I'm also an undergraduate alum, so I've actually been at Vanderbilt for 10 years. And just like Sharo and Jesse, I've been involved in all sorts of projects across a variety of different domains, applying AI and machine learning. So very interested in seeing what your projects look like.
And Umang, just so you know, you might have a little problem with connectivity. You're cutting out.
Oh, I don't know how much of that you heard, but I'm among senior data scientists, been at Vandy for 10 years, and just like Jesse and Shara, worked across a variety of different domains, and excited to see what your projects look like and get to work with you.
Abby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Petulante. I am a postdoc at the DSI at the tail end of the third year of my postdoc. So I've been with the DSI for a while. My PhD was in astrophysics, but sort of with a heavy focus on using machine learning for astrophysics. And I sort of found out through that I really fell in love with the machine learning just kind of for itself. So now at the DSI, I work on all sorts of projects, all sorts of different data types, training all sorts of models. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, like everybody here, I love hearing about new ways to apply AI to new problems. So always excited to hear about any project ideas people have.
Fantastic. So we're going to be starting out this AI summer actually talking about AI augmented programming. So Miranda's going to be speaking about that this week. Remember, this week we're going to be meeting on Monday and Wednesday. Because on Friday we have our commencement ceremonies here at Vanderbilt, so we don't want to miss out on that. So we'll be meeting every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, except for those days that are special. It was in the email, but we'll be meeting from 11 to 1 for these interactive sessions, and then from 1 to 2 we'll have office hours where we will stay on these calls and answer questions that you have. Especially useful if you're thinking about applying these techniques. But for week 1, for Monday and Wednesday of this week, we're going to be talking about AI augmented programming. Next week, we're going to be having an introduction to AI, and then we're going to be getting into the heart of various frameworks and approaches. But so you'll get the broad overview on next Monday, but we're going to be concentrating today and on Wednesday on programming. Also want to point out that we will have other times for assistance, so you'll be able to join us for our AI Fridays. And team, I think we agreed that were we going to do 9 to 11? Is that right? Because normally we have a little bit of overlap. Is that all right? We don't have to do fully staffed. So we'll do 9 to 11 on Fridays. where we will be doing our AI Fridays. And those will be very broad questions we can answer there. It doesn't have to be about this course. It can be anything AI related. I'm going to have to be stepping away for today. I'm going to be a part of a qualifying exam. So I'm going to have to head off to that right now. But I'm going to hand this over to Myranda, who will both introduce herself and then introduce you to the remarkable world of AI-assisted coding, which is, can I just say, completely different now than it was even just 6 months ago. Hope you all have a great time. I look forward to working with you all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So hopefully you all can hear me okay. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen while I get that going. All right. Should be in progress. So while I'm getting this going, my name is Myranda Shirk, and I am a senior data scientist at the DSI. I've been here for a couple years. I'm also an alum of our Master's in Data Science program like Umang. And so hopefully you can see my slides now. Does it take up the whole screen? I've been told it does. Or is it like partial? Okay, I'm getting nods, so I think it looks okay. All right, just let me know if it looks weird. I'm trying something new. But anyway, I am a senior data scientist and lecturer here at our master's program. So I teach some of our master's classes as well, and super excited to be here with you. I have also worked in AI on a variety of domains. I used to work at National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA, for the US government. So I did a lot of ocean science and environmental science over there, came over to the DSI and really expanded that. I still prefer my environmental science projects, but I also get a lot, gotten some biology, as well as some improving quality of life tools for people who are neurodivergent and classroom tools. And so it's been a really long journey here, and everything changes all the time. So really excited to get started with this today. We're going to be going over AI-assisted programming. So, and I highly recommend this no matter what your level of programming is. So I really, we have a broad audience usually that attends this. Some people have never coded before. Some people are expert coders and they just want to learn how to do really cool stuff with AI. But there really is a tool for everyone when it comes to using large language models to assist you in coding. And we'll kind of talk about best practices with that, as well as look at specific tools and what use cases you may want to use those in. So we kind of already went over this, but welcome to AI Summer again. Here are your hosts if you need a little reminder of who we are, but each of us will be leading a different session throughout the summer. So first, let's get into programming, before and after AI. I think we kind of had this, I hate the word paradigm shift because it's used too much, but we really did have this shift of like when I was in university and there was no AI tools to help, and now I'm teaching these students who have access to these resources that, we've never seen the likes of before. So let's just look at it. Before we had AI, we were writing all code from scratch, right? You just had to know how to do print statements and for loops in like 10 different languages if you were a software developer, and keeping all those straight in your head for the most part. Googling errors using Stack Overflow and other forums for debugging. This is an essential skill for programmers, and I think you'll all agree that a lot of programming is just debugging and just Googling your answers. Before we had AI, that's pretty much just what we were doing. Looking over documentation as well, another really key skill to programming, being able to read documentation on how a specific function works and then implementing that yourself. And also taking hours to just create one proof of concept. So if you're wanting to make an app, you've got to know the front end, you've got to know what graphics, you've got to know the back end, you've got to know databases. If you're creating some sort of front end app, or you're just creating some sort of function, and it could take hours to do something like that. Now we have AI, so what happens now? We've really seen just an entire shift in the workflow of how people work. So basic code can pretty much be written for you with some oversight. Right, so you can ask ChatGPT, maybe you code in JavaScript and C++ and Python, and you're like, I don't remember how those for loops work because I need brackets or I don't need brackets. And so you can ask ChatGPT, hey, write a for loop in Python, and it'll do that for you, right? And or print statements, input, stuff like that. The basic stuff can pretty much just be written for you very easily with very little mistakes, like easy stuff. My cat is yelling at me. I hope you can't hear him. I locked him out. Okay. He's really mad that he's not participating in AI Summer. But hopefully you can't hear that. I can. And next thing that happens with AI is we are able to ask a model for debugging help. And this is a little more intuitive for people that maybe aren't used to Googling or looking at Stack Overflow. The model is sometimes a little nicer than people on Stack Overflow, so that's a bonus. Although they did train one LLM, just as a side, they did train one LLM on Stack Overflow, and it was extremely rude and very hilarious. But anyway, ChatGPT generally is much nicer than that. They'll be very nice to you and help you debug your problems. You can also ask a model about documentation. Some of these models have web capabilities where you can give it a URL and it'll go there for you. Others will, you can paste in the documentation. You can say, how do I use this package? And it'll really explain things to you in a nice way. Especially, this is really nice for my students that maybe are multilingual and want to see concepts explained in different languages. Sometimes it's pretty good at that, or just explaining it in different contexts, like from a scientific perspective versus a software engineering perspective. And probably the best part of this is that it takes way less than hours to create one proof of concept. So, you can spend 30 minutes demoing something with an AI and get a pretty good product at the end of all of that. And so my question for you is how does this shift affect research, hackathons, education, and software development? Because we've definitely seen changes in all of these areas, right? Research has been accelerated. People that aren't typically coders have begun integrating code into their projects. We've seen so many different departments come to the DSI to collaborate with us, and we love it because they're finally able to get started and create these applications that they want with minimal setup and learning on the fly, right? Hackathons is a really big one. One of the first places that I did an AI-assisted coding talk was at Ocean Hack Week, which is an ocean-based hackathon. And the beauty of that hackathon is that it combines ocean scientists with programmers. And so we had these two groups of people that would come to this hackathon and each have their own expertise. And after the introduction of AI-assisted coding, we were able to bridge that gap even further. Where people who weren't ocean scientists could maybe do some more research on ocean science with AI, and then people that were ocean scientists but not programmers could kind of explain the concepts they wanted to an AI, and we were able to create this really cool connection there. So that was one of the first places that I actually taught this lecture. And then education, right? Like, how are students doing homework now? How are professors giving lectures? How are people learning, and has our learning style changed? Are we changing in how we're actually picking up this information? And then obviously software development, right? It's kind of similar to hackathons, but a longer process. How is this affecting it? And so let's look at another lens though, because this is the really nice lens of before and after AI. But I propose to you this alternate version of before and after AI-assisted programming. All code written for you, no oversight. Right? You just tell ChatGPT what you want, it gives you code, and you run with it. I see that a lot, right? Where I'm not going to lie, this is kind of more of the reality than just having it write basic code for you. All right, don't worry about it. No oversight needed. The model handles all the errors. Don't worry about them, right? There's an error. Just tell the model there's an error. It takes care of it, right? Don't worry about the errors. It'll download the right libraries for you. Model knows the docs. Just trust it. Don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about if it's using some library you've never heard of. That's okay, it'll handle it. And then this end is nothing about your code, right? And this is what I see happen more often than I'd like. I see it in students, I see it in professionals. You end up knowing nothing about your code because something else wrote it for you and you didn't really read what it wrote for you. You were like, it works. And we'll talk about security issues on that end, right? We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But right now, I just want to focus on the fundamentals of how important it is to work with these AIs instead of having them work for you, right? This isn't just some some machine that you tell to do something and then it does it for you. You actually really need to work together. So now, how would this alternate version affect research, hackathons, education, and software development? I think as a university here, maybe education and research are probably high on our priorities, hopefully. And we really want to teach students how to code and how to succeed in the workplace. And definitely being AI literate is one of those things now. And especially for programmers, I think we can't just give it all to the AI because it will make mistakes, right? And you need to understand what those mistakes are and how to mitigate them. Because actually, instead of taking a very short amount of time to produce something, if you're not paying attention, you could take hours to produce something that is still not working, right? And that doesn't get you anywhere. So let's talk about, how we can actually use these tools correctly, or maybe not correctly is the word, but in a better way. So we propose this AI assisted, I'm highlighting assisted there, it's assisting you, not doing it for you, AI assisted programming as an iterative workflow. And iterative is another key word that I want to highlight here. This isn't just a one and done, this is a process, right? And it may take more time than just telling ChatGPT what you want and getting out an answer, but you will have a better product in the end, and still takes less time than doing it by hand, right? Or doing it from scratch. So first, choose the best model for your task. The model choice really counts a lot here, right? Do you have privacy concerns? Do you need the model to be local or based in the cloud? Does it need to be integrated into your software and kind of understand your code base already? Or can it just be web-based and you just chat with it on a website? What resources from the model do you need, right? Like some models cost a lot of money and use a lot of energy to do something. And if you're just asking it to write a print statement for you, that's pretty inefficient, right? So what resources do you actually need? Do you need the newest reasoning models? Do you need image recognition or file upload? Do you need it to just do simple things, in which case you can use a simple model, right? So knowing what models are available to you is very important, and then choosing that accordingly. Next is prompting the model. So some prompts are better than others, and this really helps. If you give the model all your information and you apply some prompting techniques, you will get way better results than if you just kind of stream of thought are talking to it. You can stream of thought talk to an AI, but you'll get definitely better results at coding if you're prompting it responsibly. For instance, with reasoning models that are newly coming out now, those models are trained a bit differently than our traditional LLMs, right? And so they actually respond to prompts differently than LLMs. So you wouldn't want to use the same kind of prompt engineering techniques for both of those models all of the time. And try out different techniques, iterate on this, and it takes time, but it's very much worth it. And I kind of have this as a little flow chart here, right? So this is, now we're entering this cycle here, this cycle of iteration. So next, after you prompt it, it's going to give you something and then evaluate it, right? Is this the code was it using the libraries you expected? Maybe do some research on the libraries it gave to you or the resources it gave to you. Evaluate the code, maybe try to run it. Does it work as expected? Are there errors? And if there are errors or something you'd like to change about the code, understand those. Don't just blindly say, oh, there's an error. Usually errors come with error messages. It's a message. Read it. It's for you. And so one of the most common issues that I see is people just getting an error and say, oh, there's an error, tell ChatGPT. I see this with students all the time. And one of the most common errors that I see will be something like error, file not found. Why is there an error, file not found? Well, because sometimes these models don't know where your documents are or what your document is called, right? And so if you're trying to pull in a text file and ChatGPT will just give it a dummy name, like computer/myfile.txt. And then you try to run the code verbatim on your machine and it doesn't work because you don't have something called myfile.txt, you have some other kind of file. If you read the error message and it says file not found, and then you looked at the code that ChatGPT gave you and said, oh, this is a dummy name, right? It's just filling it in for me. You can figure that out, right? And that makes us all better programmers in the end. So that's just an example. I'm seriously, I see that all the time with people doing their code and saying they get an error. So just read those error messages. If you need to understand what the error message is, you can definitely ask the model as well. And like I said, this is a cycle. It's very iterative. So next, you're going to prompt the model, say, oh, hey, there's this error, or actually, I want my app to do this. And then you're going to evaluate the code it gives you, understand what's happening, are there any issues, and keep doing this until finally you arrive at a good solution, and it really doesn't take that long usually. And now you can deploy it. Now you can use the code, you can share the code, and you can, you can, put it where you want it to go, send it to another team. And that's really the best process that I've seen for this. The best results from AI assisted coding come from a knowledgeable, or at least a beginner but eager to learn programmer, taking the time to understand every part of the code. And I can't stress that enough. This really isn't just an out where we no longer have to think about stuff. We still need to think about it, and we're faster with this assistant, but it's really not supposed to replace what we're doing, right? Okay, so Jesse mentioned this briefly. This stuff changes all the time. So I wanted to, now that we've covered kind of the process of AI-assisted workflows, we're going to look at some of the resources available to us. And just to give you some context, I want to show you what resources were available at last year's AI Summer. So we had, these are just some of them that we talked about from my memory. I don't know, maybe I left off some, but we had ChatGPT 4 that launched early 2024, I think. And then actually 4.0 launched mid-May. So we really didn't have any time to go over it in AI Summer. I don't think. Maybe we had a special session on it. I don't remember. But really, this doesn't count because it launched in the middle of AI Summer. So we had ChatGPT 4, which was nice. Perplexity started to gain popularity. This allowed web searches, and it would kind of like Google things for you and compile all of the sources. And that was really nice. I liked it. And those were kind of the web-based one we had. Oh, gosh. My fire alarm is going off. My fire alarm stopped going off. So I think my house is still okay. We'll see. At least my office is not on fire. All right. I'm sorry if you heard that. Anyway, so we also had software. We had Cursor, which was a great integrated, kind of like VS Code, but integrated different libraries for you. And then we also had VS Code along with Copilot that would kind of code along with you. So these were some of our resources that we had available to us last year. And then this year, we have a lot more. And probably tomorrow we'll have even more, right? So these change all the time. So web-based, as far as web-based, we had with ChatGPT, we've already got 4.5. 4.0, like I said, launched last May. 0.4, which is different from 4.0. I don't know why. And then reasoning models are able to like actually reason and think through problems. We've also got deep research that launched pretty recently that's able to compile some pretty neat research topics for you and look at papers, and it's really impressive. Claude 3.7 launched earlier this year. That's their best model, and now I believe incorporates reasoning into it. Perplexity is still alive and has some pretty good stuff on it. Replit now has gained in popularity. This used to be just a purely online coding environment. I used to use it in my classes a lot for intro to programming because it was really nice. It required no setup. You could just code in it. And now it's become mostly just this AI-centered, help you use agents to create applications. And we'll be looking at that. We have a special guest today talking about his experience with Replit. And then as far as software, we've got Cursor, we've got still VS Code still, and now we have Windsurf. And I'll be talking about Windsurf a little bit as well. But these are actually softwares that are able to integrate within your coding environment. So let's just briefly talk a little bit about ChatGPT and Claude, these web-based ones, and you're all probably familiar with it, and maybe we can take some time in office hours to explore it if you're not, but I'm just kind of assuming here that a lot of us have used these, or at least researched them a bit before, right? They're able to write code for us, and basically you just copy paste this into whatever coding environment you're using, right? It's not really in there. Copy paste that code. It can explain code to you, explain other things to you as well. And maybe provide some sort of document upload and some sort of web search if that's enabled, right? And so these tools are great and really nice. But what I want to focus on is actually not these web-based tools that a lot of us are familiar with, but really the resources that are integrated into your coding environment. Because I think that is where the game changer is for me, is when I can use an LLM, not on some website, but within my code base. And I think that's what I get a lot of suggestions from people to teach about. So we're going to talk about Replit, and we have a special guest, Matt Estes here. Matt, it's a little earlier than I told you, but are you good to go ahead and start?
I'm great, thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, I'd like to introduce Matt Estes. He is amazing, has some amazing Replit projects, and I'm super excited. We've collaborated a little bit. And so, Matt, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and also your projects for us, I'm super excited to see that. And I might hop off to go check if my house is on fire.
Yeah, go for it. We got you. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Matt Estes. I am with Vanderbilt University on the staff side of the house. So I oversee, I'm the Director of Learning, Innovation, and Impact under our People, Culture, and Belonging department. And I've had the honor and privilege to work with some folks on this team, most specifically Dr. Shiro Bell, on some great innovative concepts and ideas. So I'm here to talk to you about my experience with Replit, being an entrepreneur mindset, to have really good ideas and not figure out how to get them to come to life, having more of a Figma and UX UI background and say, hey, this is a great idea, but how do I tell this to a coding team, or not have this overburden of spending out on developing something that's in your head, go out to market, because we don't have the costs all the time and you just want to prototype things. So I'm here to leverage and talk about how I've utilized Replit to do some really amazing things. But again, I want to be very transparent. This is all in the context of prototyping. We've talked a lot about security constraints and concerns. This is not to say, hey, build it in this, and guess what? You even have Replit on your phone. I don't want you to think you're on a bus or a plane going somewhere. You can build an app and launch it directly, and there's nothing to worry about. This is really to take those great ideas, if you're not a coder, and have something visual to partner with a coding team. Or if you're a coder and you hate UX, UI, then this is a great way for you to take those concepts that you know, and you could tweak and modify the code so it's best in ability to really have something that takes some of that UX, UI components out of it. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start off with a fun little video that will let us know that we're not too serious, but we do want to do some great things.
I got my cursor, I got my V0, I got my Replit. I'm gonna be able to make the blue box stay in the frame. Please. Now, the blue box is still, now it worked. Now the red box is not in the, please make the boxes stay in the frame. I give you AWS credit for whatever you want. Don't make me call them out, man. You are a senior expert. You are a senior expert. It worked. I forgot the yellow boxes.
So I hope that brought a little bit of levity, especially to you, to those coders that might be nervous or scared or frustrated, or just why do people think that they can now code? Hey, listen, I'm coming again with a perspective of really good ideas. How do I create something that I can go to a coding team and now have something that's more visual and ready to rock for that coding team to take to the next level? So I'm going to pull up my instance of Replit and kind of show you a multitude of frameworks. And as Myranda stated earlier, this really started off as a coding terminal platform online. And you still have all of those components still baked in to the ways that you want. So you have the ability to leverage prompt design and send it out and have a great idea, or you have the ability, and I'll show you in a moment, where you can modify, tweak, and change the code on your own and natively process. Before we go into this, one other lens that I would like to give you as well is I'm a happy dad of an 11 and a 7-year-old. So what I've done with, again, not being a coder, I have enough to be dangerous. But what I've done with, especially with my daughter, is say, hey, what app do you think would be fun? And guess what? We have the ability to create it and then reverse engineer. Now, again, she's not at the age yet to understand Python or break down some of the coding, but she can see it as a process. So maybe you that are more mature or advanced with your coding, maybe there's something that you've said, wow, I just need to figure out, I need to see the code to make this happen. Well, this could be a platform as well that you could take, put in your idea, whether it's some type of database integration, some type of API integration, something that you really want to create, and you're not sure quite how to get it done or how that code would look. Well, start with a prompt and then reverse engineer. So this is also, I look at as a great education platform for people to reverse engineer ideas, visuals, database integrations, to take things to the next level. So as I stated, this is the terminal. If you haven't used one of these platforms before, this is what you would see. These are paid subscription accounts, and then you do have overage charges if you're going over on the amount of data that you have in the system. So let's just for laughs, why doesn't somebody put in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, an app that you think would be amazing to create? And then let's keep it simple, you know, a calendar app or an app to track your groceries. What's something that would be fun? I'm going to start calling on people. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, how about we do, let's see what this looks like. A unicorn design app to make custom hair for a unicorn. How does that sound? Does that sound like good for a 4-year-old? Probably 4 to 8. All right, so we're just going to start building, and we're going to see where this goes from creating this app. As you can see here, it's going to start thinking. While this thinks, no sense in watching this whole process. I'm going to actually show you a real use case of how we took something to life. So wow, look at this. Could be complex for somebody that is not a coder. This could be really intense. So all of this is, again, you have the ability to access your files. You can come over here, modify and tweak your code. And guess what? You also have a visual preview of what this looks like. So let me talk to you a little bit about what it is that I'm showing. So again, in people, culture, and belonging, we deal a lot of times with folks that are looking for jobs. We had a unique ask to partner with some folks in our Frisk Center for Autism, as well as another external partner that we have called the Precisionist that staffs folks that are neurodiverse. And again, the ask is how could we have a better way to find an environmental fit for those people that are neurodiverse, potentially those that are entering the workforce from being in the military for several years, or maybe somebody that's justice informed, meaning that they were just released from their time served in incarceration and they now want to enter the workforce. We know that in those 3 segments, environmental fit is very, very, very key to having a long-standing opportunity and job and career, right? We know that if you go in a traditional search engine, it can be overwhelming. Is this loud? Is this where, oftentimes you see what? Do you have to lift however many pounds, right? And there's really never a tie-in to the actual environmental fit. So working with Dr. Bell and team, we said, hey, what is a great way that we could do this? Guess what? She says, I got you. I got you. We are actually offering a master's degree class now on RAG. I'm assuming a lot of people know what RAG is. If you don't, it's retrieval augmented generation. So it's basically having a large data set, mining that data set, and then pulling back results based off of that data set, and then generatively creating ideas off of that specific data set. Dr. Bell, if I misspoke, then you can fill in the. So what we did is we said, hey, here is a working example, right? This is a working example, and I'll show you soup to nuts what this looks like. If we got you this working example in all of the code, could your team, could your class take this to the next level and integrate it with a data set that we provide you? Yes, they're going to house it on AWS. We can have real examples. We'll tie into your data set. We'll do great. So I was like, that's amazing, because guess what? We got it to a working prototype. So again, think of it in your school setting, think of it in a business setting. You can now have customers, and that business analyst that's working with those customers say, tell me what you got. And it's just not writing notes on a piece of paper and saying, hey team, we got to build an app that connects and environment, right? And there's a lot of lost in translation. So what we want to do is create a true representation, and we were able to do that with Replit. And there's other platforms out there as well. We're not being sponsored by Replit, but it is one that we found that's pretty beneficial. One for the quick, rapid way that it can develop, as well as the ability to modify the code, provide the code back out to a development team, and they have a lot that they can work off directly. So this is, again, this is the working prototype that we created. This looks like you would see on the old interwebs, right? The UX, the UI, the experience. Sure, through testing, we're going to find out if everything works. But guess what? Unlike Figma, unlike anything that's created in an Adobe product that's just static and maybe has some click-throughs, this is actually working. So to use Replit, you have to know a little bit about what you're doing. So I connected this, excuse me, to my OpenAI account through API integrations. I did some light work through some of the code, the modifications. But what I did is now this is a true working prototype. So we come in here, as I stated, this is to help find environmental fit for folks looking for that job. So we can come through, we actually see that this works. People on the end user, on the development perspective, they can get a real hand. Oh, this is what the client wants. This is what my partner wants. This is what the team wants. And they can really go through this and make recommendations on enhancing on the overall experience, and obviously on the ways that it integrates with any other systems. So once we hit see results, this should take a moment, and it's going to go ahead and actually populate a work environment analysis. So this is, again, through generative AI and my OpenAI API integration. This, if I take this and answer different questions, it's going to give a different environmental analysis. Now here is where, again, we did not have that integration into a data set or into a job bank. This is fictitious data, but it auto-generated this data as well. So now Dr. Bell and team were able to see, like, I know exactly what they're looking for, excuse me, and we're able to provide recommendations on ways to make this experience better, to make the data set better, knew the specific questions to ask us. Hey, you gave us this, but we need this. Okay, we totally understand, and now we're working off of something. And this took a matter of moments to really create. So I think end to end, we started having conversations back in March, and just recently these projects were submitted for review. So again, that was elongated because it was a class, and this was not the only thing on the class topics. But imagine in a business environment, if you had customers coming to you with a great idea that they hashed out in a brainstorming session, by the end of the day, they had a true working prototype with code for you to build off of. You're condensing development cycle and life and the entire life cycle of the project from months to years to potentially weeks to days, depending on the complexity of the project. So also think about this from a cost perspective. You now have a working prototype that you don't have to pay a big UX UI team to create and working samples and how does this look. You don't have to have a big cost for a development team to build out a work case or use case. You have something that you could now take to executive stakeholders, that you could get buy-in. If you're an entrepreneur, you could go in and spend a matter of days on creating your prototype to take to some type of venture board or team or group that you're trying to pitch this to. And it allows and condenses that time. It also affords those of us that are not coders to create a code-worthy project to now get a coding team to understand, right? You're really condensing that time. So again, I implore you to understand this and leveraging in a prototype capacity to now take really good ideas, to have really good prototypes, to be ready to go to market faster, still bringing in our great allies and partners of the traditional coding space to make sure that we're aligned on security, make sure that our databases are aligned, we're pulling and extrapolating the appropriate data, and that we're doing things the right way. So now let's go back and take a look and see what our unicorn. All right, so now it's created a plan for us, all right? Do we want to add more unicorns, body parts? Oh, that would be interesting, right? Maybe like a Mr. Potato Head of unicorns. I don't know. Let's go for it. Let's say implement a gallery of saved designs. Okay. We won't have to do animation. We don't want to do that. Oh, do we want to share our designs on social media? So as you can see, this was the prompt we started with. It was very concise, just like whether you're doing prompts in ChatGPT or Claude or whatever environment you're in, the more detailed, guess what? The more detailed the output would be. So if you have a really good business case, know how you things want to work, go ahead. So now we're going to go ahead and improve and start the plan. And this is going to go ahead and run. While this is running, I'm going to, if there's any quick questions that we could address while this is running, we can see where this lands. We'll see if we have a unicorn app. We can all go into a team unicorn. So Raymond, thank you for the suggestion for your niece. Maybe we got something for her. Yes, Daniel. Daniel, I don't know if you're able to come.
Sorry, I heard you. I just had some trouble getting back to the Zoom window. So I'm actually playing around with Replit as you're doing this and working through it with you. And I asked it to do some things for me in Python. Is there a way I can view the code that it produced?
Yeah, that's a great question. So over here, you'll see a little folders toggle, and you should be able to open the toggle, and then you can access your files. You could then also, if you have another terminal or platform you like coding better, you could download all of that file codes. That's what I actually got to Dr. Bell and team. And then they were able to upload those to whatever environment they wanted and then had the source codes to be able to modify those. And since it has all the CSS and all of the other visual design, that stays with it. So now, regardless of environment it's loaded, as long as it's accessing that file, the file folder and structure that you've created and output, you should have no problem with the data files or with the visual files. Again, if you're working with something offline and you have API integration or you're sourcing off of some database, it's not going to do that until you reestablish a connection. But other than that, you should be able to outsource and view all the code here. So you can, again, here's all the code that you should be able to access. So here's your main Python to directing it. Here's your models. All right, so we can go through, here's all your libraries. Are you able to see that now, Daniel?
Sure am, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the question. All right. Ooh, here we go. All right. We got our unicorn app rolling. We got some hairstyles. So it looks like we have some work to do. We could do wavy. We could save our unicorn. I mean, it's a struggling unicorn, but hey, we're getting somewhere. We could change our colors. So it seems like there's some things here. It's still troubleshooting, so that's why we don't have the ability to edit yet. And you can go over here and you can see and you can check out where our status is. So once this is live, you have the ability to go ahead and have a full actionable preview. That's why we have here, it tells you your preview state. You do have the ability to deploy. So right now, if I was not in Replit and I tried to share this link, it would not share out. So to be able to share out to a group, you need to deploy it. And it will basically publish these files out it will establish. So if we were to come here, you can see that it's going to go ahead and so it's going to go ahead and you could talk about units based off of your account, how many if credits, because sometimes depending on the size, the data size that you have, you would then have to incur additional costs. You can modify some of these the ways that it would go out. So I'll come into here to the one that we've already deployed. So you can see here we have it deployed out. Here's our domain. It gives us a generic domain. You can also modify the DNS and sync this to a public domain that you have if you wanted to. I know that for some working prototypes, I've built out websites that there's no data concerns because it's just information only. And I was able to sync that to my domain registry, and then I'd have those sites able to publish out. So let's see, is our unicorn done? Still modifying our unicorn. But hey, we have the starts of a unicorn app in what, 5 minutes? So again, if we have something maybe a little more serious than a unicorn app, you can imagine how far we got in 5 minutes just with one single prompt of I want a unicorn app. So imagine more details of the prompt, modifying the prompt, changing things around. You have the ability to have something pretty amazing by the end of the day, ready to take out to a team and get some feedback on. So I think that's all I got. I'm here for any questions as they pop up throughout. I encourage you to find a system that works. There's several products out there that do similar things. I found that Replit is pretty amazing, especially from a prompt. And then again, if you're a great coder, you have the ability to access and modify that code directly on the platform. Push out if you want that code out, right? If you want to just get in there and have it generated, see what it generated, you have that ability. And then again, it allows us to be more creative, quicker to market, at a much more cost-effective way than ever before in human history. So it's pretty exciting. So thank you, Myranda.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think it's so wild to see it working on that terminal side and like talking to itself and then saying, "Oh, I noticed this error. Now I'm gonna fix it." I don't know if anyone else saw, but at one point it took a screenshot of what the app looked like at one point, and that's so cool. I wonder if it's just for logging, or does it actually do anything with the screenshot, or does it just like kind of save it for you? Are you able to look at that?
Yeah, it will save it at that point. So I know that I've made things and then like it will come back and then say, oh my gosh, this isn't working. Well, you could revert back to a save location. Usually when it takes a screenshot, it will. I've also just gone through and had like a site. It's like, gosh, I don't have time. I got to run out the door. Let me just play around. I said, can you please QA this from an end user's perspective? And I'll say, well, I found this error. I found this error. I found this error. So it QA'd itself to say like, oh, this file isn't working. I was getting a 404 error on this. I went in and fixed it and I resynced it to this. So it can also help itself. So like you mentioned deep research in OpenAI, right? You see that if you open that catalog, if you do a deep research, it's like, I looked at this site and then I cross-referenced it to this. It does a lot of that capability tied back to the code, tied back to the experience. So you can give generic prompts of QA this. Hey, is there something better that you could do from an experience perspective? And we'll say, hey, would you like to add a drop down here? It might be better for your users. And you have, okay, that sounds great. Or no, let's keep it with the radio buttons. Okay, cool, whatever. So use it like a partner as well. Don't just think that you are in control, but also use it as a collaborator. Hey, how can we make this better? How can we make this look better? And again, for those amazing coders on the call, you then have the ability to either learn from something that you haven't been able to do before. You can modify something that says, hey, they use this instead of this, and I know that this is much more effective. This is much more secure. This is more cost effective. You have those abilities to be able to modify the code directly as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Matt, for showing that, and just what a great process. I love seeing like more of a finished product and then more of, the us working through it together. Fantastic. Awesome. So that was super cool. I think now is probably good timing for a break. If we're kind of feeling like a break. Yeah. So why don't we take the next 10 minutes or so? Do whatever you need in the next 10 minutes. If you have questions, put them in the chat, and after the break we can get to them as well. But yeah, these tools are super cool. I'm going to go over another tool after the break, and then you are all going to get to play around with these and try to make something yourself. So if you're really itching to get started on, oh, I really want to do something, I want to stop learning and I want to do, we will get to that. So why don't we take about a 10-minute break? Let's meet at 2 minutes after the hour, and then we'll get into some fun stuff. All right, see you. All right, it is 2 minutes past the hour. I'm gonna give people a couple seconds, make sure everyone's back on. I hope you had a good break. My house is not on fire, so that's a plus for the day. All right, not a lot of visual feedback in Zoom, so I'm just gonna assume we're all back at our spots. I see you, Sharo. It's okay, y'all don't have to have your cameras on. It's just funny because I'm like, I don't know. Oh, Daniel, did you have a question? Oh, or were you just saying hello?
I was just trying to indicate that I'm back.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I see someone else had like a little party emoji. Thank you all. All right. Okay, then I will see if I can get this share screen thing happening again. Oh, that's not what I meant to share. There we go. Maybe. Stop share. All right, please bear with me. Okay, just giving people extra time. Okay, now you should see that same screen, hopefully. On my PowerPoint. Can someone nod or do it? Okay, perfect. Thank you for nodding. Yes, awesome. Okay, so thank you so much again to Matt. If you have questions, I think he's still online. So if you have questions for him, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them, or any one of us in the chat. So feel free to use that chat to ask some questions. I can't always see it, just because I'm presenting, so I'm looking at too many things at once, but one of our team members can certainly help. And feel free also to raise your hand if you have another question. So loved Matt's presentation, so cool. And so now we're gonna kind of transition over to some software that's on your computer actually. And if Umang or Abby or Sharo, if you could find the link to Windsurf downloading, I completely forgot to put that in the chat earlier. If you could just put that in the chat. You guys don't have to download it just yet, but I want you to have the resource in case you want to use it for our DIY section today. But I'm going to be talking about Cursor and Windsurf. Either one of these are really great IDEs that's a programming environment that you're able to use, and they have really great AI integration. And what I really love about these is that you can, if you have a specific IDE or software that you really like to use, you can import that layout or that look into Cursor or Windsurf. And so like I kind of get my setup and then I like it and I don't want it to change. So I don't like trying new softwares. But what I love about these, like I said, is you can just say, oh, I use VS Code or I use PyCharm or I use whatever environment you use, import that right into this software and it will look the exact same. Lots of customization options. I think you can get really in the weeds with it. Best thing about these, they're built into your programming environment. So let's say you have a folders within folders, and they have different information in them. They have documents in them. They have code that you wrote a year ago in them that you don't remember. These environments are able to, if you give it the permissions, look at the documentation, look at the documents in your current directory that you're using the software in, and it will give you suggestions based on that environment that you have. So it's using your code base as a context, and that is wonderful for this. Like, you're using ChatGPT and it's just kind of like, I don't know what your setup looks like, but here's some example code. But with this, it will reference the exact files you have. It will use functions that you previously wrote. It can answer questions about code that has maybe been sitting in your code base for years and you don't remember what it does. It's really wonderful for managing code that you have on your computer. So I highly recommend these. They're super cool. And so I actually want to transition now into a demo of kind of like what Matt did. I have my own demo for Windsurf and Cursor if we have time, but I definitely want to show Windsurf. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to a project that I actually worked on last year with Dr. Kate Snyder and a team of graduate students at Vanderbilt. What we wanted to do was analyze bird song, recordings of birds singing, and analyze that using a large language model called Whisper. And the first step in most data science projects and in ours is visualizing our data, right? So before we want to do this whole project, we want to see what actually does this bird song look like? What does it sound like? Is there anything we can look at in the data before we make a decision on what model we want to try to use? So what we did was we wrote Python notebooks to visualize the data. We did have some AI assisted programming with this to try to get it, but it was overall just kind of a bumpy process. There's a lot of different audio libraries you can use, a lot of different ways to visualize audio data in Python. And so, you know, we had some mixed results, but it was pretty good. But I would say that took up a good chunk of our semester, was working on visualizing the data, right? And Abby Petulante was on this project as well. Sorry, I want to make sure I give credit to everyone. But so anyway, it took a really long time. So what I did was I decided, why don't I revisit this with Windsurf? So like I said, this was last fall. And then a couple days ago, I opened Windsurf. I opened the folder where some of our example notebooks were from that project. And I asked it to create an app for me that visualizes our birdsong data. So with our previous approach, it was very code based. Like you had to put the path to the file that we wanted to visualize, and then we could visualize it and stuff. But I was like, well, it would be way easier if we just had like an app where I could click on the file that I wanted to visualize and it would just do it. And so I was like, okay, let's test out what Windsurf can do. So I opened Windsurf. I opened the folder with our birdsong project, and I said, create a UI that allows me to upload audio data. I gave it a little example, and in this notebook, we are uploading sonograms from a CSV file. And kind of explained what the data was. And then I said, allow me to upload a file like this and see the sonogram as well as some other visualization, like a waveform or something. And it said, okay. And so it gives you the steps, kind of like what Replit was doing. And it says, all right, analyze. And so here's where we are in my computer. We're in this folder. And so it analyzed that folder and it says, oh, I found the notebook that you mentioned. So let me check it to understand how you process this data. And so then it analyzed this folder for me. All right.
And
so it says,
Amanda,
okay.
Sorry, a quick question.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a question in the chat, and I think you're on Windows. Someone said that Windows is blocking their install of Windsurf, and so should they be concerned about that, or is that something you also experienced?
Oh, yes. Actually, on their website, they have that. If it's the error I'm thinking of, they like have a screenshot of the error, and they said, here's what you do. You have to do like advanced options and then say allow.
Okay, sorry,
like that.
sorry for interrupting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, please interrupt if there's questions I need to answer right now. Yeah, I think Windsurf knows about that error, and they have like what to do on their website. So definitely follow those instructions there. Yeah, great question. Same thing happened to me. And yeah, so anyway, Windsurf said, okay, let's create a UI. It says I'm going to use Flask and Plotly. The UI will include these things. Let's start by creating a new Flask application. So what it actually did was created a file for me here. So it actually created this file on my computer, right? And so I gave it permission to do this, but it full on just created a file called app.py. It added 64 lines. It'll even show you. So what this is, green is lines it added and red is lines it deleted. You can actually open, it's called open diff. If you're familiar with GitHub, when you are making different versions of files, you can look at something that's called a diff. It stands for difference. You're basically just looking at what between these two versions of a file, what is the same and what is different. So you can actually do that and approve different lines that it wants to add. So a couple different ways to do this. You can approve it line by line, or you can approve the whole document at once. So it's pretty neat. And I'll show you that specifically in a second. And then actually it tried to create an HTML file and it encountered an error. And it said, oh, there's an error. So what do you think it is going to do next? I just random stuff in the chat, or you can speak up if you want. What do you imagine, based on your experience with other AIs, that it's going to do now that it encountered this error? Any ideas? A little shy. So ChatGPT, for instance, like maybe it encounters an error. What does it try to do? All right, we're being a little shy, and that's okay. Based on Replit, try to fix it. Yeah, okay. So I guess you're a little ruined because you already saw something that was really good at it already. So maybe I should ask this question before we look at Replit. But yes, so it's gonna try to fix it, but the way that it fixes it is interesting. Yeah, look for a different file type or something. Yeah. So these are all. Thank you for your responses. These are all great. And so it encounters this error, and it's on my machine. Remember, this isn't like up in the cloud like Replit is or like ChatGPT is. This is actually, it encountered an error that my computer gave it. So what is it going to do to my computer now? Like, what is it going to try to do? And so what it actually does is it fixed it, by running a terminal command. It ran a command in my terminal to change the file structure in my directory, which is wild. And I mean, first of all, I gave it permission to do this. It asked me if it could. And so I'll show you a little bit, but it says, okay, here's what the error is. I'm going to run this terminal command. And now for anyone that has programmed or maybe has not programmed a lot, you have probably encountered the terminal. If you haven't, maybe you're a little, maybe you don't know what it is, and that's even better. It's basically how we give commands to our computer, like not by clicking, but by actually typing in commands to our computer. And it's wonderful that this software is able to do that. It's able to work in Python, but then also communicate directly with my computer to figure out what the issue is. And so it turned out that it was referencing a directory that was missing. So it actually ran the command make directory templates. And I approved that. It said, can I do this? And I said, yes. And so it actually just ran a command for me, which is wild. That's so cool. I've never seen anything like this before. And you can set it to auto run commands, but I like to check them because I want to make sure I know what it's doing since this is my personal computer. And then the next thing that I love that it did is it said, okay, I wrote this app. Now I'm going to create a requirements.txt file to ensure all the necessary dependencies are installed. If you're a software person, I hope you're cheering in your seat right now. If you don't know what this means, when you write a piece of software, you will have dependencies on other softwares that you have to have installed to make something run, right? And so what this requirements file is just a file that tells you all the requirements you need to run your app, and then you can auto install all of those libraries. And we like for these to exist, but people don't always create them for various reasons. So it just created it for me. It says, okay, here's all of the dependencies you need. Let's install those dependencies, and then we're going to start the Flask application. Now, this is wonderful. If I had tried to write a Flask application by myself, it would have taken me all day, maybe longer. I'm not a UI Flask person. I'm more of a backend person, right? So this is not my jam at all. And so it went ahead and it did this. It started running. It started installing the libraries. And so here's an example. So now it says, okay, let's start the Flask application. Let's start the Flask application. And now it says suggested command. Can I run this command? And it says Python app.py. So it's asking if it can run the command in my terminal to start the application that it just created. And notice this button, I can accept it or I can reject it. And that's super cool. So now it's like, okay, I made this app. Can I run it? And so I can click this accept button. I really recommend, it shows you exactly what it does. Read it, right? Don't just do it blindly, because there are ways that these LLMs can go wrong. And especially when you're on your own computer locally, things can get bad, right? If something goes wrong, that's your computer, right? It can get bad. So I definitely recommend, checking the command it wants to run, so it actually made this file app.py, and I'll show you what it looks like to me, because you can look at it, but I just wanted to kind of focus our attention on a couple of these points here. And so I can either accept or reject it. But let's look at now, and hopefully you'll be able to see this okay. So now I've got Windsurf, and I'm going to expand this window so you can see both sides of it. And I've got to get rid of the Zoom chat. Okay. Okay, and here we go. So hopefully you see this entire window. This is what Windsurf looks like. And so this is the original notebook that I gave it. I pointed it to. So this is kind of what we did, but you can see it's pretty manual, right? We have to put in like pandas.read CSV. Here's the name of the CSV, and then it'll put out this sonogram. We also had a lot of code, like kind of fiddling with actual, views on it and how we can visualize it. And so, it's fine, but it's a little messy. It's fine. It does what we want it to do. And so on the side here is where I was chatting with. It's called Cascade and write mode. Cascade and write mode. Cascade's their little model guy, assistant, agent, person, machine. And so anyway, this was where I originally had the prompt, and now it's like, okay, I'm going to do all of this stuff. This is what I showed you in our screenshots. So this is what it created. So this is the requirements.txt file that it created. When it made this, it kind of, it had, maybe it was like green or red or something, and there's a little check mark button that I could say to approve it creating this file. now we've got this app dot, like it wrote this entire thing, right? It wrote this app.py file. Notice it importing the libraries. This is where it figured out the requirements.txt and even the version numbers. That's awesome. And now we've got an HTML. I hate writing HTML, so it wrote it for me, which is great. And so this is like actually wonderful, like what our app is going to look like. Like it's arranging the user interface part of this app. And so it wrote this for me. And if I want, I can see if you, let's see, open diff. So this is showing, so it created this file. So on the left is before, on the right is after. So in this case, the before was nothing because it just created this file, right? But you can check out the differences that it changed. So if it changed something that I had, and now it created this, and just for transparency, right? Okay, so where we left off was installing the command and then running the app, right? So I said run the app. Okay, let me scroll a little bit. What do you think these are? These are errors, right? These are, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. My favorite one, this is my favorite one. That was not useful. That was a straight up output I received from my app. So like I said, full transparency, oh, it's still going. Full transparency, like this is what you're gonna be dealing with. But what I love, okay, I'm gonna scroll faster. What I love about this, all right, here we made it, is that it finds the issues for me. It says, oh, I see the issue. It's doing this because we need to properly format the data. Wonderful. I don't know how to always format data for each individual package that I use. I love that it did that for me. And so now it says, okay, now I've edited the HTML and we can look at the diff. Here's a good example of a diff. So this is what it was saying. It just had, hey, Plotly, here's your data. And it turns out Plotly doesn't want data like that. It actually needs it to be a very specific structure. So it found that structure and then it added that in. And we can actually look at what the model changed. That's so cool. So cool. And now we had a couple more errors. And then we finally arrive at the end. We finally arrive at the end. And here we go. Scroll a bit up. Anyway, now I have, this is the part. It says, okay, now we're going to start up the app. And this is where it actually got working. So let's check out what this app gave me. All right, let's see if I can manage all of my windows. No. No. Bear with me, sorry about this. Okay, so let's actually go back over here and look at the app. So here it is. It's actually running on my computer right now. And I'm going to choose a file on my computer. It's going to, I hit this upload button and it's going to read in this file. Like I said, this is binary data. Oh, it failed to fetch. Okay, so of course, when I'm going to show it to you, it's going to fail to do it. But that's okay because I took screenshots for for honesty. So anyway, a few iterations and errors later, and yet still some, I ended up getting this really nice app that ended up showing, so you could upload a file and it would give you a sonogram for the file. Like, look at how nicely plotted that is. Actually, you can't see it in here, but it even had little widgets to like zoom in on a portion of data and zoom out and like change the axes a bit. And then it gave me another waveform visualization. Same thing with this. It also had little widgets where you could move the plot around and mess with it and zoom into specific areas, which is already way better than what I had made previously. And just to give you an idea, I showed you all those errors, right? But this total took me an hour. An hour. If I had tried to do, like, if I encountered all of those errors by myself in my locked little room, it would have taken me weeks, maybe, I don't know. And I probably would have cried at some point. Like, this, look, no tears is great, right? When we're making an app. And so I just, I love this. It's so cool. And like I said, like Matt said, this is it's a process where you're building prototypes. And so if I wanted to make, this is great for me, right? This is great for me to visualize stuff for EDA stuff, for like projects. I'm like, oh, this is great. I can look at it. If I wanted to share this or publicize it or make it an official software, that's when you want to bring more of a team in and kind of get it going to deploy it. But for me, just using it for this project, wonderful. I even started to ask like to add a couple more features. I asked it if it could create a Docker file for me so that I could use Docker and then everyone could use the app, like no matter what computer they were on. And it was like, yeah, sure, let's get that started. So, but I just decided to stop after an hour, and this is what I had at the end of an hour. So pretty impressive stuff. I really, it's super cool. Okay, so now this was 20 minutes. Let's make it maybe closer to 30 minutes because we have a bit extra time. But now it's the do-it-yourself portion of AI Summer. So I'm going to split you into random breakout rooms. Sorry, I didn't prepare them beforehand. Sometimes we will allow you to choose a room, but for time's sake, it's just going to be random. So you're going to be put into a breakout room. And I really ask that you participate. It's really helpful. But as a group, I want you to come up with an idea for an application that you're interested in creating. So like with Matt, maybe it's a unicorn designer thing. And then develop an initial draft of that using some of these tools. So if you want to use Replit, and if everyone can choose a different software, right? So like if someone in your group wants to use Replit and someone else wants to use Windsurf, feel free to do that. There's another one called Cursor that we didn't really talk about yet. Maybe try that one. So I want you to try to come up with an app, see what you can get in the next 30 minutes or so, and then discuss these observations with your group. I am going to pull you back in at around 12:50 so we can discuss. So be prepared to like share what your group worked on. And remember the goal of this is to practice the iterative process, end up with a design idea, not to have a final product, right? Like I said, it took me about an hour to get to that little prototype. So I'm not asking you to do something like that. I just want you to kind of come up with an idea and see what the tools allow you to do. All right, so I'm going to open up those breakout rooms. Feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have a question for us. And I see a question about data in here that I will answer in the chat. But if you have any issues with your rooms, just feel free to let us know. We'll kind of be floating around as well, but you should get an invitation to a room now. All right. Okay, and for some reason, some people didn't get invited to a room, so I'm gonna manually put some of you in there. Okay, so be sure to accept that room invitation, and I'll see you in about 30-ish, 25-ish minutes. Let's see. Okay, someone is saying didn't get the breakout room invitation. Let me find you. Oh, you should have it now. It says that you have it now. Okay.
Good job, Miranda.
Thank you. Good job to you too.
If we also have, if there's questions at the end too, there's like so many like advanced features that you can do in Replit. You could have like an image of like a UI that you really like, and you can drop it into the chat and then tell it to like replicate that user interface. It has the mobile platform. You can test on, you can do it on all that on your phone.
The phone is wild.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wow.
Well, which is great, right? Because you could make
Yes.
sure that it's dynamic, and then you could like pull it up on your phone and see how it responds on your phone. So now you don't have to be in different environments or have like a replicator or something. Want to see our janky unicorn now?
Yes. Yes, yes.
I don't know if it's worse or better.
Oh my gosh.
You can go in here. We want curly hair or spiky hair. That's not so
Oh my
good.
gosh.
So maybe not unicorn generators. You can change the color.
I mean, yeah, that's a definite improvement and better than what I could draw probably. So
Actually, same.
Hey, and it gets the point across, right?
Same.
We can save it. Oh, we saved our unicorn. It saved it as a file. No. Yeah, I dropped a picture in there to see if it, let's see if we can do this. It's got like one of those map buttons. Oh, unicorn.
I'm also gonna pause this recording right quick.
hope you had fun with that little exercise. As I think I said to a couple people in the past on AI Summer, we have allowed people to choose their own groups. So if you're involved in a specific lab or project, we will give you an opportunity to let it, or at least in the past, we have given you an opportunity to let us know about that group. And then we try to keep breakout rooms like optional so you can join with the people that you're working with. So if there's something you want to work on over the course of the summer, feel free to let us know and we can assign those rooms accordingly. We usually will ask in the chat at the start of the meeting. So maybe next time we'll do that. But for today, I just wanted you to meet new people and work on different projects and maybe see how someone might approach a project a little different from you. So now that we're all back, is there anyone that would like to share from one of the rooms what you worked on, what your ideas were? Feel free to screen share if you want, or just kind of give me a description of what you guys tried to accomplish. Yeah, Sarah.
I can share. So I worked with Ida and Robert, and I'll go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, so this is like definitely a work in progress, but Ida's idea was to have an app where you can see what streaming service a movie or show is on to make it easier to find. And it asked us some different, I don't know if we can see what changes we made, like modifications, but in the beginning, it asked us like what options we wanted to use, like if you wanted it to be regional, if you wanted it to show suggestions. I forget what the other ones were, but we went ahead and ran it, and it's changed a little bit now. We noticed an issue with icons, like it can't find all the icons for the different shows. And it's changed a little bit, but basically you enter a movie or TV show, say whether it's a movie or a TV show, and then it gives you some recommendations on the bottom. So that was what we worked on.
That's super cool. I love that idea. First of all, the amount of times that I Google, like, where can I watch whatever movie?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
and it asked, it needed a database of like movies and TV shows. So it asked us to use this watch mode API, watchmode.com, and get a free API key to enter to be able to access the database. So one of our team members did that, and it's saying that right now it's asking, is the app displaying correctly? Do you want me to make any other improvements to the app? So that's where we're at right now.
Super cool. That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah.
And just to point out, you guys did that in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really awesome.
I like that it gave it a name too. We didn't,
Yeah.
the prompt we used was just very simple, but it went ahead and named the app for us and everything.
That's so funny. Yeah, and I love that it like directed you to where to get an API key. That's super helpful.
Mhm.
Awesome. Is there anyone else that wants to share? Thank you so much, Sarah. Anyone else have a cool idea that they tried out? Even if you just want to say what the idea was, even if it didn't work, or if anyone tried Windsurf, I'm interested, or Replit, did it go well? Yeah, Raymond.
Yeah, I was trying to make a mood journal.
Okay,
Let me
awesome.
screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I got stuck is my run button is not actually doing anything.
You're
So sometimes if you refresh the entire browser page,
Okay.
you'll have and then click on your preview and it potentially should load.
agent is working on it.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe click on the agent tab next to your file on your file side on the left.
Yeah, it's still working.
Other, yeah. So it's waiting for you. So I think it's asking you. So like if you read like what it was saying, it was asking you like if it was allowed to do that stuff. So you do kind of have to like read what it's asking you and then answer its questions, because sometimes it's a little finicky about it. But yeah, thank you so much for showing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get working before next time.
Yeah, awesome. That's
All right,
really
thank you.
great. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I love this. And then I see in the chat that we had someone's group tried doing a roommate finder for interns and new grads, and I love that as well. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. Wonderful. So just to wrap things up a bit, thank you so much for participating today, and for also, I hope the demos were fun for you to do. We're going to be trying to keep this pretty interactive. So hopefully you'll be able to do breakout room stuff and help you make the best of it. So breakout rooms can suck sometimes, but sometimes they can be really fun if we do it right. And so just to wrap up a bit, you maybe have seen what this gets called vibe coding, kind of became the term for this that I absolutely hate. And because I really don't want my IT security, my phone location to run on vibes, or like the Squarespace like checkout online shopping thing to run on vibes. Let's not be just fully relaxing at our desks. Let's maybe be a little more active here. So let me know if you have questions, comments, or observations as well. But just as a reminder, don't just vibe code, maybe I've been saying check the vibes. Do a vibe check on your code, right? So, we can have the vibes, but maybe check them every now and then. So I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of some AI assisted programming. And so we've got 3 minutes left in the class. If anyone has questions, we can start answering those. And then actually at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., we're going to open up office hours just to like, if you need help debugging something or you just have questions or want to talk with us, we'll have office hours for the next hour as well. Otherwise, if you're done for the day, thank you so much for coming by. It's been a great first day of AI summer. And I hope to see you for the rest of our sessions. Bye, everyone. Yes, Faisal?
Myranda, did you say you have an office hour starting at 1 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, I'll ask the question at that time then.